There is one scene in this movie that mirrors an actual event that happened, and I am almost positive this movie was filmed before the event. And the first thing I thought was, wow, this is really eerie. So let's review Mickey 17. Mickey 17 stars Robert Pattinson, Steven Yeun, Naomi Ackie, and is directed by Bong Joon Ho.
That's when everything changed. Multiple.
What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new 2025 review. Why does it feel like it's been a while since I've sat in this chair? I don't know, but here we are. We're going to review Mickey 17. I was going to review it the other night. I was going to go see it, but I didn't get a chance to. It is Sunday today, and I finally went and saw the movie. I happened to be on call for work, and I actually had a couple calls during the movie, and I had to step out and come back in, and oh my God. Luckily, I didn't have to step out too long, because when I came back in, sometimes it was still on like kind of the same sequence, you know, of the movie. Bong Joon Ho directed Parasite, which was a phenomenal film. I believe it won Best Picture, deservedly so. So I was really excited to see what he was going to bring to the table for this one. This is an American film, which is interesting. I do like when directors make the crossover from foreign horror, you know, in their native country to coming to America and doing a big budget type movie for a big studio. This is Warner Brothers, which does make me wonder if you give a director too big of a budget, can it actually hurt the film? Because you can definitely see the budget on screen here. It is beautifully shot. The set pieces are massive. This movie's like made for IMAX, which I saw it in Dolby actually, which I think I prefer seeing movies in Dolby than I do IMAX. Just the sound and the more crisp picture, right? And this movie's perfect for that, But is the movie itself perfect? No, we'll get into that. But first off, let's give you a quick plot synopsis. Robert Pattinson plays Mickey. This is set in the future, I think 2054, somewhere around there. There's this new program where they have what's called an expendable, where they just kill the person over and over and over. I think for the most part for testing, you know, and maybe other reasons. But an expendable is a nice thing to have, I guess, in this world, because you don't really worry so much about human life. All the memories are re-uploaded into the new host. But one thing that is interesting about this movie is they're not 100% the same personality-wise as maybe the last person, right? And the reason this movie is called Mickey 17 is because there's a moment in the movie where he's supposed to die, but he doesn't. And Mickey 18 steps into the picture. You know, they're thinking 17 died. And both 17 and 18 come together. This is like the middle point of the movie. And this is where the movie kind of takes a different path than it does at the beginning, because the first half is more about the whole program itself and just watching Mickey go from body to body to body, and just what that whole process is like. But once two of the Mickeys are occupying the same space, then the story takes a shift, rightfully so, because how do we deal with that? And I did see a lot of people state that they actually preferred the first half of the movie over the second half. I'm the opposite. I actually think the second half of the movie is where it starts picking up and becomes more interesting, because I think the first half of the movie does feel a little bit repetitive, almost kind of soulless, which maybe that's the point. But I think the second half is more action-oriented, and I think it's more unpredictable. You're wondering, where is this story going to go? There's also these creatures in the movie that are definitely a big part of the second half of the movie, called creepers, which kind of look like caterpillars, slugs, whatever, just giant. Some of them are small. I think this does fall into some of my issues with the movie, because the first half of the movie, they don't really make up a big part of the story itself. And the second half becomes sort of centered around them and how do we save them. And, you know, again, this was something that wasn't really presented in the first half of the movie. So it was kind of frustrating. Steven Yeun plays Timu. He was partners with Mickey before he entered this program, and they were going to have this like business together, and it just kind of fell awry. But quickly we see what type of person Timo is. He's very self-centered. He doesn't really care about Mickey and, that he's going to die. And I think that is part of the theme of this movie, what they're going for. What is it like to die? The value of human life, even if it can be reset, I guess. But I don't think they really drive it home in terms of dealing with that theme. I do think the movie gets muddied a little bit because there's this character played by Mark Ruffalo who is this evil, greedy politician type. I do think this movie does try to mirror current events, okay? I don't put politics in my reviews. I try to keep that stuff out of here, but I'm not going to hold back if I feel like a movie is leaning way too heavily on current events and just how divisive our country is. I mean, let's be honest at this time. It's pretty crazy out there. And so when you go to a movie, I don't mind having like a political character in a movie for the purpose of setting up the evil baddie, right? This being evil and greed. Look, this is nothing new. You could go all the way back to freaking Darth Vader and probably even further back. These types of characters, I mean, we just had it in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and that character I thought was fleshed out beautifully. But the problem with Mark Ruffalo is it seems like, I don't know if he made this decision or they told him to do this, but he literally sounds like Trump in some parts of the movie. And I think that is sort of a mistake to do that, to make it too on the nose, because then automatically people are going to feel like they themselves are being attacked if they happen to lean one way, politically. I can separate my own political views from the movie itself. And I can say I wasn't offended. It didn't bother me whatsoever, but I thought it was just way too on the nose what they were trying to do. And I think you could have formed an evil, greedy type of character without attaching all the drama that we go through currently, especially given this type of movie. It's like a sci-fi movie set in the future. And when you do that, I'm sorry, you're pandering to a certain side. If you are on the left, you probably loved this movie because it aligned with your current beliefs. But my problem with Mark Ruffalo's character in this movie was he was so one-dimensional. If I separate today's politics and all that stuff from it and just look at this as a movie, I think given what they were going for with this character, I think there are far better characters in cinema history that are sort of similar to what this character is, that are just handled so much better. And I think have more of a universal appeal. Whereas I think Mark Ruffalo in this movie, he did not have a universal appeal. And I think that's just the problem with Hollywood these days, is they do kind of try to pander to a certain audience. And it could be either side of the political spectrum, depending on the studio that's doing the movie. And I have a big problem with that. And if this is the first time you're on my channel, something you need to know about me, I don't do politics when it comes to my movies and entertainment. I'm not one of those channels out there that just constantly leans on that type of content and might talk about Disney for 10 videos straight. I'm just not that type of guy. I'm just interested in so many other things outside of just talking about that. Thank God. But hey, it's in this movie. I got to talk about it. All right. I think Robert Pattinson is the best part of this movie for sure. He's definitely channeling like a Steve Buscemi type voice, but I think that's a pro because Robert Pattinson's not afraid to try different things with his instrument, his voice. He doesn't play the same character every time in a movie. And I think the true test of that is if you close your eyes and just listen to him from performance to performance, you're probably going to hear a different person. And he's playing not only himself, but many different people. The two main characters that he plays that make up most of this movie, 17 and 18, they have like a slight difference in the way they talk, the way they carry themselves. It's not like a big, vast difference where it might be a little bit less challenging for an actor to conquer that. No, I think you have to be subtle with the differences, and I think he really pulls it off because there wasn't a single moment in this movie where I didn't know which one we were dealing with. Was it 17 or 18? And that's really because of his mannerisms, even his facial expressions, and thankfully sometimes they would kind of put a mark on him, be it like a burn on his face or a mark on his chest. Naomi Ackie plays the love interest in this. Again, I think she was very effective. And I think that's the problem with this movie. I think if they would have focused more on these two characters and maybe shifted the plot a little bit, because what they were doing with Mark Ruffalo's character was a little bit distracting, then I think it would have worked better, because I was looking for more of an emotional stamp on this. And honestly, it felt kind of sterile throughout most of the runtime, which did make it feel a little bit longer than it was. I think it was 2 hours and 17 minutes. But I can't take away from the filmmaking by Bong Joon Ho. Phenomenal direction by this guy, always keeping you on your toes. He's very thought-provoking with how he handles his shots, and luckily that stuff I found interesting. But from a narrative standpoint, I did think it did need a little bit of a retooling. So overall, I'm going to give this just a straight up humdrum. All right. It wasn't everything that I wanted it to be, but it wasn't all bad either. You know, I definitely appreciate the filmmaking in this movie, and I appreciate the strong performances by some of the actors, especially Robert Pattinson. So that's as fair as I can be with this review for Mickey 17. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Looking forward to hearing them. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free for Fridays. Follow my Drumdums on my social, support me on Patreon, buy me a coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a day, and Drumdum out. Oh, in that moment I was talking about at the intro, there was an assassination attempt on Mark Ruffalo's character that mirrored the assassination attempt on Trump. And it was just really eerie, because I'm almost positive this was filmed before that happened. I'm not sure. I didn't do my homework, but yeah, I thought that was really strange.